Welcome back to Take Flight episode 30. How is everyone feeling?
Good, tired.
I guess I know Olu and Daniel, you've come back from a mammoth journey. I'll give a quick intro in a second, but how are you guys feeling? Tired, good, happy, healthy?
Tired, but good.
Tired, yeah.
Well, I mean, very happy that you're able to bring the energy at least up for the episode. So look forward to hearing. And how you doing? So P, I'm going to assume you're all good then. So guys, as I mentioned, welcome back to Take Flight episode 30. This episode is a very special episode because Daniel and Olu have just come back from what looked like a life-changing trip and experience from Lesotho. They'll be sharing a bit about their experience, I guess what they learned, and I'm super curious to hear about it. Let's take flight and let's start.
Take off, take flight with you. For we never fly, but we're flying.
Cool. Let's get started.
Woo, woo, woo!
Energy.
Right, guys. So, Olu, Daniel, how would you like to start? I'm going to have lots of questions, I feel, so please go ahead.
Given that I've done this a volunteer experience before, I'll let Olu start. Please, before we continue, first of all, we didn't kill each other. That's one thing I'm proud of.
Okay, yeah, you guys are still talking, right? At first, I was thinking when you guys come back for this episode for the podcast, there may not be a podcast anymore, but this is a good achievement.
Touch and go.
It would be great if you can share with us your expectations prior to leaving, and then kind of how you went, how that started, how that looked from the start.
Before we do that, Daniel, do you just want to explain what Habitat for Humanity is and sort of the charity that we did it with?
Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. So Habitat for Humanity is an international organization which started in the United States many, many years ago by two people. And since then, they've been wanting to help better the lives of those underprivileged or those in less fortunate positions. So they have many representatives in various different countries around the world who look for vulnerable people or those who are in need of shelter and provide a hope for them, essentially. And to do this, they have different types of initiatives. Some include constructing homes or schools or helping renovate existing buildings for deprived populations or areas and individuals in particular. And the build that we went on was one where we were going to construct a house. But how it works is you don't know the profile of the person or family prior to signing up, but it's usually a week or two before the build starts, you're given a profile of the family or person you'll be building for. And in this example, we were building for a 9-year-old whose name is ᴠɪᴇᴡs. And he lost his mum 6 years ago, and she was a single mother. And he has 3 siblings, and he's the youngest. But the older siblings dropped out of school due to financial constraints to provide for the family. One of his brothers were there present at the ceremony when we gave them the house on Friday, and he was very much in an emotive state. We'll share later about that. But ᴠɪᴇᴡs currently lives by himself to some degree, but stays the night with the village chief in their house. So the house we built was for a 9-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, P, I guess going back to thanks, Daniel. So, P, going back to your question in terms of how and why.
It was really walk us through sort of from what your expectations were prior to going, or what you thought you may experience and feel, and then kind of what it was like actually in reality. So,
so in terms of expectation, now the reason I sort of decided to do this volunteering with Daniel is previously when I was a consultant with GE, we had a similar organization that we used to support called Build On. And I'd previously applied unsuccessfully. So when Daniel mentioned his experience in terms of Zambia, I thought, okay, this is going to be a great opportunity for me to give back. Now, in terms of my expectation when going there, my expectation really was to serve. I wanted to because I feel like I've been privileged in terms of life. I'm turning 30 this year, and I just wanted to have an opportunity to really just give back. And after talking to a few people in terms of what my expectation was, so my expectation was originally one, to disconnect. So disconnect from sort of the outside world. Um, really get into the essence of life. So forget about all the worries, the struggles in which I face in terms of work or the Western society, like work, chasing your dreams, trying to earn money, and have a period of time where you just completely disconnect and just get back to like what the essence of life is. So helping others, um, understanding, like just taking just a slower take of life, or pace of life, in regards to not just always having to do something. You could wake up, see the sunrise, sunset, those sort of elements, and then just really volunteer. I spoke to a few friends who had previously volunteered, and sort of their feedback for me was just to really take expectation apart from serving, like serving others. So initially, I would say I went with like lots of expectations. I want to be able to disconnect. I want to be able to feel like my skills or I'm giving to others. I want to feel vulnerable. I want to all these different things. And like a week, 2 weeks before, after talking to friends, I sort of changed that mindset and just said, look, I'm going to go with zero expectation, and whatever happens, happens. Daniel, I'm not sure what your, I know this was your
Yeah.
second one, but what was your
Well, for me,
expectation?
I try not to have too much expectation. The reason being is my first build was a really good build, being that the team were of similar age to myself, and we all gelled and bonded very, very well. And that was one thing I was a bit apprehensive prior to doing another build, because I asked some people that I know have done one, how did you compare, or how did you go into your second one knowing that your first one was really good? And a colleague of mine said, well, to be honest, my first one was really bad. So he had no problem with going into his second one. But it was also something I asked my team lead from last year at the end of the build last year. I said, Stan, I've really enjoyed this one. This was really great. And I really don't want to compare it to my next one. I don't want to compare my next one to this. He said, well, just try not to, because what I found is every single build, well, of the two I've done, they're always different. They're unique in their own sense. And honestly speaking, you can't really put into words the various range of emotions you go through whilst you do it, because we're coming from quite a privileged background. We take a lot of things for granted. And then you put yourself and immerse yourself in such an environment, and really and truly, you have a lot to be thankful for. And you go through, ups and downs, and even leaving the group at the end of the week is quite a bittersweet feeling, because you've bonded, well, you hope, or in our case, we bonded very well as a group, as a team. And I think we all learnt new skills from off each other, and we'll go back into that a bit later on. But I tried not to go with any expectations, to be honest, because I didn't want to sell myself short. I didn't want to set myself up for a miserable time, but I went in with almost fresh eyes, as if I didn't know anything about this. I hadn't done this before, and that way I was able to truly enjoy myself.
But Daniel, how were you when so because at the beginning of the volunteer we got like a list or profile of people that were
Oh
going to
yeah,
be in our team. So how did you feel originally
oh
where
yeah,
it's going to be?
okay, yeah,
Because obviously I'll tell you how I felt.
okay, yeah, okay. So how it works is you apply for a build, and if you're successful, you get put through once you've paid your deposit, etc. And everyone,
Dan, just to cut you off here, Dan. You're attending this with work colleagues?
no, they're all strangers, all strangers. All
Okay.
strangers. So yeah, so how it works, you apply, and once you've paid your deposit, you kind of put on the list, and you're almost good to go as long as you make the final payment. And everyone's encouraged to do a mini bio, so upload a couple of pictures of yourself, a bit about yourself, etc., etc. So I done this, Olu and well, we done this. Everyone had done it, and looking through everyone's profile, and even the team lead said, "Oh, you're the youngest. I think you're the youngest on the trip." And I'm thinking, huh? Youngest on the trip? No, I was thinking, huh? And then I look on the profiles of people, and I'm thinking, well, I must be around a similar age to other people. Like, no one looks like crazy old or anything. And then, yeah, he goes, oh yeah, there's one younger person, and she's coming with her granddad. And then I was thinking, okay, so I know how my experience was last year, and I was able to bond with people my age and get on with people my age. I thought, okay, this is going to be a bit challenging, knowing that everyone is kind of older, and that was my initial thought. However, I won't go into it because I know Oli wants to share his, but that very quickly, rapidly, and drastically changed once I got to meet everyone else. And to be honest, I wouldn't have chosen a better group of individuals.
Yeah, I agree. As in terms of my first build, I wouldn't have chosen a better group of people. But originally, looking through the profile, I was a little worried because I thought, okay,
So what was that? What was the average age? Like 56.
It could be, you know, it could be.
probably
Okay.
probably was. But in terms of just when we started interacting with everyone, so we stayed in a guest house altogether. Yeah, and this guest house was in the middle of nowhere. We couldn't really, you couldn't go out by yourself, so that forced us every evening to really bond, have dinner together, play card games, and just really sit down because the internet was awful. So it forced people not to really be on their phone, but really interacting with each other. And you got to understand and relate or talk to people with maybe different backgrounds. And for me, that was so beautiful, just being able to connect with people with different backgrounds, but are all there for the same goal and purpose.
And let me just break it down. So, in terms of the group, Olu and I from the UK, our team lead, he's originally from the UK but lives in Denmark, has been lived there for over 20 years, I believe, or 10 years or 20 years. There was a lady from Italy and a lady originally from the States but now lives in Belgium, and the rest all lived in the States, different areas in the States.
How many people are in the group in total?
13 of us.
13. Okay. And before going there, I think you mentioned they sent you a profile of everyone else. Is there any other things that they tell you to do to prepare for it, or it's just a case of just be ready to get started, or how
It's just like the general information about if you need a visa, any vaccinate. Make sure you're up to date with vaccinations. Make sure you have necessary documents like insurance if you want that. A bit about the temperature. So some advice about what to pack, but it's all for yourself.
Okay.
And also the dates, travel dates, and logistics. And what's the final thing? Yeah, it's just based general information. There's nothing that you. It's just itinerary dates. Make sure you know that you got the information, emergency contact information as well, and also any gifts that they're particularly asking for. So I think they're like dust masks and different various equipments for building.
Okay, cool. So how does it look like? So basically, you take your flight from, I guess you both flew from London, right? And then you arrive, and then do you have a few days before to kind of get like on
Nope.
for yourself, or is it straight in? And then how did it work? The first
It's
few.
up to you. Some people come before, some people come straight in.
Yeah.
So we arrived a few days before, then we flew to. So it works on Saturday. Everyone should arrive by Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
And at night, you then meet the rest of the team, have a team dinner, and then we did like an icebreaker to get to know everyone, which is which was really nice. Then on the Sunday morning at 8 a.m., we left Johannesburg by road to Lesotho, which took about 6-7 hours. We stopped off for lunch along the way.
Yeah.
And then that Sunday night, you have a meeting with the Habitat for Humanity Lesotho staff, who's almost our contact for the week. So he stays with us and gives us the rundown for the week, etc., and ask him any questions because it's not everyone's second or multiple build. Some people, this was their first. And the day starts Monday to Thursday. Wake up at 7. Sorry, breakfast at 7. We're out by 8. It's a 45-minute drive to the site. By 9 o'clock, we're starting work. And by about 4:30, we're finishing up. And then we make our way back to our accommodation. And we're usually back by about 5:15, 5:30. And that was Monday to Thursday. And the Friday, we do a couple of hours of building. And then we present the house to the recipient along with the community that come. So that everyone from the community comes. It's like a big thing.
Yeah.
We were fortunate that the US embassy were there also, and the ambassador for the United States for Lesotho was present at the ceremony. And we also got some volunteers from the US embassy on the Monday as well. But that's like the rundown. During the day, you're building, you're interacting with the children, you're playing we're all talking, learning from one another, doing different tasks, doing different things. Also, lunchtime lunch is provided by, of course, Habitat. So we were having some vendors who would some caterers who would provide food for us and bring it down to us, which is really nice because over lunch we just got to talk to one another and just share our experiences outside of building, day to day what we do outside, and just general chit chat, which was really nice.
I think one of the things that wasn't really mentioned, which I think should have been mentioned, is just how physically.
That was my next question, because the videos I saw, Olu looked like he was doing some mad exercises. He looked tired.
I'm telling you, my body's in good condition now after that week of working out. All those videos you see of Pabilo in the gym has got nothing against going to building a house. It's nothing compared to that.
He's right.
I'm telling you, like,
I'm with you. I can
digging a hole. Oh my days!
Oh gosh!
Oh, I was.
And so they did it because a part of me was thinking, okay, because the group is probably different levels of strength, size, all of that stuff. So do they divide it in terms of, because
Nope.
I mean, Olu and Daniel, you're both big boys. So did they give you all the heavy stuff? And
listen, it doesn't work like that. We were about 3,500 meters above sea level?
Yeah.
So high altitude, and what Olu was saying about digging a hole. We dug a 1 meter by 1 meter square and 1 meter depth hole. And listen.
No, but I think all it end up doing is just highlighting how unfit you guys are. That's really what it's about.
It's not even okay.
I'm not saying it's not easy, but what it is, it does highlight, you got to shed some weight.
No, to some degree, yeah, it could be like that. But you can't prepare yourself for what you're about to experience.
Sure.
Because Mike, shout out to Mike, he's 71, who brought his granddaughter on the trip. He's had 40 years in construction, and he is a machine. 71 years old. He made Olu and I look like little kids.
I'm happy you put yourself in there as well. I thought you were just going to say on there.
Of course, because Mike was turning over. He was digging like there was no tomorrow. He was so fast, so quick. You just hats off to him. Yeah. Even taking breaks, he was taking minimal breaks. And
so the foundation. So I'm a little bit concerned actually, because it means that the foundation for the house was done without any machinery. So just you guys.
Okay. The foundation was done. The foundation was done before we arrived.
Okay.
Oh,
so that's where
they bring the big boy money in, and then they
the foundation. No.
So they fly with the machinery, and they do.
Not every time. So every build's different. So sometimes you're doing the whole foundation, but usually when the foundation's done, you're likely to finish the house in the week, which is good.
Okay, cool.
No,
and is there like a specific, and at the end, of course, like the house should be built, but is there like a particular state that everyone is working towards, or is it just you try to do as much as you can in that time period?
I think the good thing about this is there was a few people that were very experienced. We had one guy called Alan who was on his 20th build. So
shout out Alan.
So you can imagine, and then like we mentioned, Mike, who was also very experienced. But even just the rest of the team, I think most of the team have done multiple builds, maybe 6 or 7 builds.
I think there were about 5 people who was there first.
Yeah, there's 5 people that was first, and the rest they've done multiple builds, and everyone was just working towards that goal of completing in the week. So there wasn't anyone in the team who was sort of slowing down the team. Like you had a woman called Fran, who was a retired nurse, who was carrying bricks and lifting, just everyone was just serving and wanted to work towards completing the goal. But if I was recommending this to anyone, I would say that yes, you want to make sure that you're able enough to actually work during the week, because it's not just a chill vacation. It's not.
Listen, my back was done in multiple times. I think after the first or second night, I put Voltaren on, I put heat patch on, I took codeine, I took diazepam. I took everything.
He did everything. He took everything apart from asking me to give him a massage. I offered him.
Yeah, I wasn't
I
asking. Nah,
offered
that
him
was
a
not going to
massage,
happen.
but he was like, nah.
That was not going to happen.
That sounds like it was that alter ego Chester that was coming out.
Wait. No, but I want to know. I want to know. How quickly did you guys start to realize? Listen, I'm beyond thankful for the life I have. Like, when did you guys start to cry? Or let's say more
Yeah.
Olu, because Daniel's been there before. But what was it? What was the first moment that happened where you actually shed a tear?
My first emotion was day one. So day one, driving to the site, the build site. As we're driving, like Daniel mentioned before, it's like a 40-50 minute drive from where we were staying. And every time we're driving, the kids are normally walking to school. And then you start to see the different houses, the different conditions as you're driving towards the site. Now, my first sort of emotions or feelings at that particular time was very reserved, because there was an element of guilt in which I felt. Just because looking at the kids, obviously Daniel and I were the only two black volunteers, but looking at the kids, I could easily see myself. So I think I mentioned before, I grew up in Nigeria, in Ibadan, which is a small town, or smaller than Lagos, I'll say 2 hours outside of Lagos. And I could just see myself in the kids. So like the first day when we're driving there and some of the other volunteers in the van sort of waving to the kids are so warm and smiling and everything. I wanted to sort of smile, wanted to wave. I was just in the back, just trying to absorb everything. And I think there was an element of it where I just felt sort of guilty, just in terms of taking life for granted, taking the standard of life that I've been able to have for granted. So that was my sort of first day emotions. So the first day I just dug into just working, just to sort of deal with the emotions, or not think about the emotions, should I say.
And was there ever a time where you actually broke down? Heavy tears.
I think the toughest part was the final day when we were giving the house over to Cabello, and his older brother decided to did a speech, and we couldn't understand, but they translated what he was saying, and I'm going to paraphrase, but really what he was just saying is, look, since his parents had died, he's had to carry so much weight, which you can obviously understand, having to look after his brothers, and how he had been traveling for the last weeks, months, looking for work to be able to provide a life for his family. And he sort of broke down, started crying.
And yeah, just to add, he didn't even know that his brother was going to be a recipient of a house, so he was away, and he came back a few months later, found out that. Yeah.
So he was just saying that how us building the house, us coming there, has just taken so much weight off his shoulder, and how grateful he is. I think that was the most. I think emotional.
I broke down.
Emotional.
So where was so his name is Cabello? You said?
Cabello.
Yeah, Cabello. Where was Cabello and his brothers living prior to this house now?
So they took us. So I think it was on the Tuesday or the Monday. We were fortunate to go to where he was currently living, and it's a place that his mother had inherited from her parents. So his grandparents. It was just inherited, and it was one room, and the one room was the bed was in the corner. So we were invited to the land. He had some dogs, which he had to kind of tame them, because of course we were going onto his property. The dogs didn't know us. And then we said that we were told, we can go into his house. But for some, like, to be respectful, I didn't want to go into the house, because I just want, this is his personal space. He's a 9-year-old. He was very shy. I think it was a lot for him. He was very overwhelmed even when he was introduced to us on a Monday, because he left school early to come and see us. But he didn't even say a word. He kind of he got quite emotional just by seeing us and seeing what we were doing. So I didn't want to kind of feel like I was invading his privacy. So I just glanced in, and it was the bed, the cooking utensils, and things like that. And that was it. just one room. And that was where, of course, his mum and himself and his siblings had probably, lived and grew up. And it was like a mud shack. It was quite run down, straw thatched roof, and that was that. And we were building a 2-room house for him. And it's like the emotions, when you really step back and think about it, what you're doing, it does touch you quite deeply. And also, if you're not prepared for it, it could actually overwhelm you, because it is such a deep, deep, deep thing that you're doing. Not to be boastful or anything, but you're actually transforming someone's life for the better.
Well, man, it sounds like it was a great a great trip. How did it? So does it end with the transfer of the house and then the speeches and stuff, or do you guys get a chance to kind of decompress afterwards? Because I can imagine it was probably quite intense.
So day 2, so I guess after day 1, where, like I mentioned before, I just sort of focused on just building, trying to get this house completed. I think when we went back to where we were staying, I mentioned to Daniel, "Hey Daniel, this is a little bit strange because it doesn't feel like we're interacting as much as I thought we were going to be with the local community." Because day 1 we'll drive and we'll go past kids, and obviously the kids will go into school. But I also thought that there would be a moment or periods of time where we can sort of go about, interact with the local community, play with the kids, etc., etc. And it wasn't really that. So Daniel's mentioned, I think on his first build, he said it was completely different. Like where we were building, all the kids in the community were just there all the time. So that he was able to interact, take breaks, interact with the local community. So day 2, I think we mentioned it to the Lesotho habitat host, the person that was overseeing everything. And we just said, hey, it would be good to really get to interact with the local community. So I think it was it Tuesday, Daniel? I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Cabello and a few of his friends came to the site because there was a strike. The teachers were there was a teacher strike. So they didn't have school for the rest of the week. So in the evening, we got to in the afternoon, we got to play with the kids, which was great because I think originally Cabello came there and he just saw all of us there building, and he's a 9-year-old child. Like sometimes I forgot he's a kid. He's 9. He doesn't have any of these.
He's basically by himself. He's by himself.
He's got no stability in terms of someone like a family member or a brother for him to feel comfortable. So obviously he's going to go into his shell. So day 2 was really good because he came over with all his friends, and we were able to play football, which is the universal language. Whereas like you don't need to speak the same language. Everyone's just having fun. We had some frisbee, and like Daniel mentioned, the altitude was crazy. When we were playing football was not safe. Like the amount of times I rolled my ankle, twisted my ankle.
We're basically on a mount, almost like Lesotho is very mountainous. That's why it's called Kingdom of the Sky. And so it was a very like rocky terrain. That's why the drive was like a 45-minute on a dirt road. By distance, it's probably not that far, but because of the road conditions, going up that kind of treacherous condition, it took a very long time.
And I think that they allowed us to sort of just build that bond, because us running around, me trying to do step overs and tripping over and all of that stuff made us just bored. Yeah.
I was going to say, can you do step overs when it's normal altitude, or is that just the altitude?
Haters are gonna hate. No, but no, it was just that day was, I would say, that day was probably my favorite day. The second day, I think I got some videos as well of Daniel dancing as well. Like I think it was the same day where the local, or maybe it was the next day, but the local children were dancing. Yeah, the kids were doing dancing. The kids teaching us different dance moves.
Yeah,
and you should have seen Daniel in the middle. His knees, Daniel was busting some moves.
Trust me, man was strong because Olu's knees were weak.
I mean, if anyone needs knee straps, you know who to ask in this out of us for.
Yeah. Who's that? Is that Pete?
Might be, yeah.
Guys, my knees are super
Go
strong.
go and build P, and you see how strong they are. Because you're climbing scaffolding and all sorts.
Question. Has this trip, because I'll ask a question and then I'll give my perspective. Has this trip made you sort of want to be even more successful? Because then there's an element where you feel like the more successful I can be, the more of this I can do in a larger scale. Or is it a sense of I already have so much, and I almost feel like if I try to get so much more, I'll feel even more guilty. Where does it put you now?
It's a mixture of two. So I think the first element of your question, in terms of do you want to be more successful so that you give back, you can give back and volunteer more, I would say there's element of it that I would say is yes. But when I say successful, I'm not only talking about monetary success, because you could be as rich as you want and you would never get this experience if you're not successful mentally, so in the right place mentally and in the right place in terms of health. So I think this field allowed me to realize the importance of the balance of the three: financial, mental, and physical health in all sense. Because whenever we couldn't volunteer if we weren't in a position to volunteer. So if we didn't feel like we've made enough money that we could give back, or that we feel like we can we can take a step back and say, hey, we've been given this opportunity, how can we help other people mentally and physically? We wouldn't be able to do that. So I think one element of it is yes. I think the second element, or what I was thinking about, was that coming back, I realized how far away you are from poverty. Yeah. Which then means, one, you can take more risk. I think so many times we're like, oh, if I lose my job or this, I'm going to be in poverty. And it's like, nah, you're you're far away from what would be classed as quote unquote poverty, which then means, look, you can take more risk in life. You can strive for more, because we've been blessed to have a support system, family and friends who would help us if things got tough. So what's truly stopping us from chasing our dreams and doing what we want to do? And that dream doesn't have to be chasing money. It could be serving other people, deciding to quit your job and volunteer for a year, 2 years, whatever it is. Like, we don't need to worry about poverty per se, because luckily, based on what our families or our parents before us have done, we've been able to move away from that level of poverty, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Did you find yourself, because you mentioned in because I've also experienced that as well. I remember they used to do this every year. They had this charity, I think Red Cross or charity program, where like Lenny Henry, the comedian, they would go to parts of Africa and give back. But it was quite explicit in terms of what they showed, and kids losing their parents. But did you find yourself, because you said you could relate and see yourself in those kids, at some point during the trip, almost not wanting to see anymore? You kind of had said to yourself, okay, I've seen enough. I can't bear watching further, because that will, it sort of crushes me. I just can't watch anymore.
Daniel, did you feel like that when we were in South Africa, when we went on that tour? With the homeless, Soweto.
Which tour?
That's when I felt that.
Oh, sorry, Soweto. Yo, yeah. So, oh, yeah. That was different, because let me put it this way: Lesotho is a beautiful country. Like, let's not what we say kind of paint a picture like it's terrible.
Exactly.
It's a population of 2 million people. There are some very nice houses. You know, then, like, when I say nice houses, not like grand, like 5-story houses, 2 million, 2,000 square feet. But they're nicely constructed homes, even in the village and the area that we're in. Like, some of them had nice porches and different features to their houses, just added character, and they made them very nice. But the person we were building for wasn't in that position, and many people in the community were not in that position. But that doesn't speak for the whole country. The country is very nice. It's just that, from, if anyone follows me on Instagram, you'd have seen from that some of my, I'm yet to upload some, and I will do a video, is where we were in a remote part of that village. There was nothing surrounding us. There was nothing. So I didn't feel the sense of I've seen too much, because maybe I didn't even see enough, because we didn't go deep. We stayed to our plot of land of where we were to build. But in Soweto, that was completely different, and that was, we got a tour from a local person, and nah, that's for another topic, I think.
Yeah, I think that was the Soweto one in South Africa, Johannesburg. That was the tough one where we did a tour with the local guy to like where I think it's the homeless. I don't even want to. I don't know what
They're basically, they've got nothing. They're
this was.
squatters because they build their own house by materials. So they try and get equipment like broken cars, materials like metal, and try and construct a shack basically. And that's all they have. And they have a number on. Everyone has a number on their shack. As to basically, it's like the lottery number of when the number gets called, they're going to be provided proper accommodation by the government, like social housing. But the person said, this may never come. You could be wait 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or you may never get one. You basically just die there.
And some of the people have died there without receiving any houses, and that was tough. That was the part where I was like, yeah, I need to go. That hit me emotionally.
Because a young girl, I think 16 or 17-year-old, they don't get any electricity. She went to try and wire from the main power lines on the main road to their shack, and she got electrocuted. And that's a different story.
Yeah.
But, in what I would say for this trip is, it was different to my last build. It was still enjoyable, and it was definitely a different experience for myself. I thoroughly enjoyed the group of people that I met, that we worked with, because I think there wasn't one person who I didn't get along with, and they were all phenomenal individuals. I've learned a lot from them, and a lot of them inspired me, especially the amount of work and effort and their work ethic that they put into it at such different ages as well. One person I really take my hat off to, several, Fran, Alan, Jake. Jake was just a lovely guy. And, Julie, Jill, Nancy, all of them were just incredible people who I thoroughly enjoyed working with. Velda, and we still, even up and that we finished the build, we're still all communicating with one another, because you probably do build friendships because for a lifetime, and you really do hope that your paths cross again, because what you did was phenomenal, and it's just a crazy experience that you've done with complete strangers, to put it simply. And it's amazing what you can achieve, what a group of individuals, what a group of strangers can achieve when they have the same common goal and values that they want to achieve and strive for in a short-term goal.
Exactly. And I would definitely recommend it to people to do. So, Pabilo, Shua, are you guys planning to join us next year?
Yes, that's the question. So how about if we did a take flight one? All four of us.
I'm down.
Are you sure?
P, can you knees do it? P, are
P.
your knees capable?
Good. Yeah, of course. No, I'm just.
Are you sure?
I'm just as you guys are talking. Obviously, I'm visualizing and bringing myself there. I lost my question.
Are you sure, big
my
man?
question? Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's automatic. We don't have to.
Okay, so just to let me add, so the listeners can get a feel for what we actually do, because we say we build a house, but you don't have to have any experience of knowing how to build. So everything is shown. You're shown how to do things, and of course you can ask questions along the way. But the type of things that we do, we mix our own mortar. So what you put in between the bricks. So you use cement, sand, and water. We mix that by hand, which I think I showed on my Instagram, one of my stories. That's all by hand. We lay the bricks in line, level it out. We do the flooring, plaster the walls, put the roof up, cut the door, cut the glass as well. So it's not made to measure stuff that you'd get in a house. You're cutting the glass by hand. You're sanding down the door so it fits. Everything's being measured. Even the truss and the beams that put up on the roof, we're cutting them down. We're nailing them. We're doing all of that stuff by hand. So there's no machinery, nothing.
What happens? I mean, so tell me now, what has been? You've reflected obviously on the journey back. What now are, especially you, Olu, having gone for the first time? What are the action items for you guys? What is going to change now? What are you going to do differently now that you've been able to experience something so unique and so rare, which most people in the world probably won't get themselves a chance to do?
For me, it's just having another level of gratitude. So, like, I've got nothing to complain about, man. It's me, like on it, like it's real.
I'm
Like,
with you. I'm with you. Let's put that. Let's put that into a. Can we put that into something like for the next 6 months? You will not complain about anything that you have.
yeah, no, exactly, and that's what I mean. And forget even six
See what I'm saying?
months. Forget even 6 months. Like,
More than that.
it's just like, what have I got to complain about? Yes, life will be tough and life will throw stuff towards like my direction, but in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of stuff, there's so many people in the world that's going through so much more. And I've
Yeah.
been blessed to be in a great situation. And yes, I'm gonna have tough days. Yes, I'm gonna have tough days. But I've got so much to be blessed about, and I've got to just have a heart of gratitude, versus focusing on, oh, I haven't done this, or I haven't completed this, or oh, that was a bad day, or like, yo, I'm so grateful, man. I'm so grateful. Like, yeah,
Daniel, what about you?
For me, it's just a
Wow.
smile more, because as Olu said, when we're going to the site, these
They're
kids,
smiling, innit?
these little kids would run from their house.
Chasing
They
the
would
car.
run from the house to run up to the van and wave and smile. That's all they want to do. Wave and smile. That's all they're doing every single day. Even at the end of the day, I think there were some kids that were waiting for us the whole day to come back down, and they'll then see us, and they run out, and they're waving, and it's just like they're just so happy to see you. And I'll be honest, sometimes in the morning, like I was waking up at 5 because I just couldn't sleep, and then at the end of the day, you're tired. You're thinking, oh, I don't have the energy to put my hand up and wave. I just don't have the energy. You're thinking, oh, someone else on the bus will do it. But I thought, you know what? I may never see these kids again. Let me just put my hand up and wave. So it's, a smile can brighten up someone's day so much more.
Last question from my side, because I mean, this.
I'm ready for all the questions. I could go on for hours. Man.
This last question. Interestingly, maybe it's the way I perceive it. I don't get the sense that you guys feel more pressure to be more successful, because I think we spoke about this on that episode, which is with the positions that we find ourselves in. I think Ollie, you asked the question once. Do you feel like you're kind of in some way doing your part to hold up your race in your own perspective? And so, having been on this trip, do you feel like more pressure to be even more successful because you realize actually the opportunity you have, if you thought it was good before, you realize now it's great?
yeah, I would say yes. Going through this experience makes you want to give back more. Like, I understand that is I don't need to do everything right now. So sometime in my life, I'm going to open up an organization, a charity, where I'm going to be giving back even more. And the only way I'm going to be capable of doing that is by being successful. So it's like, it's stuff that I want to do. I think I can't. Rome wasn't built in one day, so it's not one of those things I'm going to come back and be like, okay, I just know in the future, I see that part of my life purpose is giving back. And what's his name? Oh, what was it? I was watching a documentary on the plane back by it was about Muhammad Ali, and he had one amazing quote that I wrote down, and it was I've got it. I wrote it down. Yeah, it says, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room in heaven." And I was like, that just sums up how I see just serving other people, our experience, and everything that we've done. So, service to others is the rent you pay for your room in heaven. And I love it.
Someone clearly didn't listen to me on a few episodes back because I said a similar quote, but never mind.
Shots fired.
Did you say that? Did you say that quote?
Yeah, I said service is the rent we pay for the space we take up on Earth.
Oh, but did you give the credit to Muhammad Ali? Or
No, because Muhammad Ali wasn't the first
Okay.
one to say it.
Good. No, this is.
And just to add, thanks to Olu, he spread the word of Take Flight podcast. So hi Jill, hi Julie, hi Nancy, hi Maddie, our new listeners from.
Hang on, one second. Actually, there's one other question that agent come to mind. Hang on a minute. So you two guys are running a nice GoFundMe page before you're on your trip. Yeah. Where money go?
Daniel, break down the funds. Break down how much a build costs.
Okay, so just so you know, a build to, for example, this one costs $2,100. So for you to volunteer, you don't go for free. You have to pay for it.
And that doesn't include flights.
So the $2,100 just includes $2,100 includes just your accommodation for the actual duration of the build, not the time before you spend if you come earlier or time after, and includes your travel and accommodation for the week of the build. On top of that, you then have to pay for your own flights.
And that's also that
So
the 2000 is also used for the material, supporting the organization, everything related to
local
everything
staff, yeah.
related to the
So it's quite expensive. It's not we don't get anything out for ourselves. It's really and the other thing to add, none of us get excuse days from work. This is our own annual leave that we use to go on these that we use to do this trip.
So we're not doing it to make money, P. If that was your question.
No play. All right, last one. Sorry.
No, I'm happy with all the questions.
Okay,
I'm not mad at all.
maybe we can just skip the book review. You have to help us understand your fascination for lions and what was that like?
Okay.
'Cause I'm saying, yo, this guy is like, are you trying to be one of those social media South American guys that basically starts hugging up lions and say, yo, come on.
Okay, so my fascination, I don't know. I just love lions. I find them regal creatures. I feel like they're just king of the jungle, and I don't know where it stems from. I like watching a lot of what's it called, like David Attenborough and stories about lions. I think there was one time I was just fascinated, and all I used to do was watch lions hunt their kill. So chasing a gazelle, trying to take down wildebeest, all sorts. And if anyone goes to one of my oldest posts on Instagram, it was with the quote of every morning in Africa, the slowest lion has to outrun the fastest lion has to outrun the slowest gazelle, blah blah blah.
Yes.
So I just love lions. And when we went on the safari, it was just like I was just so happy to see lions like almost face to face. Because of course I'm not stupid to want to go and hug and touch them because they just see me as a piece of meat. And so that's I'm not stupid enough for that. But when we got the chance to go with cubs, they're not tamed or kind of it's not an inhumane kind of torture for them. They're cubs just there, but then they get put back into the wild, and these animals are in the wild. And it was just nice to kind of stroke them, pat them. At one point, I did get scared though because all of a sudden, 4 of them got up and started walking towards me. And I'm thinking, what have I done? But apart from that, no, I just love them, and to show that they're just wild. One of the truck driver was a cage truck, and then when we got to animals, he would stop and talk about the lions, and he was saying, on open truck safaris, little kids are often advised not to go on them because when they talk, it gives the lions some sort of it intrigues them because lions don't see a truck or any moving object as people with it. They just see one thing and that's it. But then when they hear voices, they see one thing with things in it. And after he said that, the lioness was just laying down, minding her own business. A little young boy was making more noise. All of a sudden, that lioness came up to the truck and tried to swipe inside.
Everyone thought the lioness was sleeping. Just all of a sudden, just ran straight at the truck. I was like, damn.
So if there was
literally seconds.
Wait, if there was no cage, that's it.
No. The thing is, not even there was no cage.
No, if there was no cage, what's going on?
No, not even that. The dad who was holding the baby, the son, if he was leaning against the cage, he would have been scratched up by the lion because the lion's nails went through the cage.
Yeah.
I got a picture of it.
Someone actually even unfortunately passed away.
Huh?
So you can have self-driving. You can drive around. And you can self-drive in the safari, and some idiot or person decided to have the window rolled down, and zoop,
the doors are locked.
The doors were locked.
Lion just
of course the lion swiped them out. Because the thing is, the lions aren't stupid. The things to underestimate is the lions. You may see them, but in a glimpse, they're not there.
Yeah,
because they move so quick. They're stealth, and to be honest, some of them are even camouflage. You might not even see them. Like Olu had to tell me because I kept putting there's a viewing point for where you can stick your camera out and take pictures, and I kept putting my hand out there, and Olu's like, "You don't want your hand," because the way I was pointing my hand out and turning my head away, I was basically being stupid.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't want to have to explain to your wife why you're coming back with one hand. No.
Yeah. Because there were lions, there were the cheetahs, there were wild dogs, and the wild dogs were camouflaged. Like, we got to the wild dogs, but we thought we were just looking at nothing. And they were just there lying on the grass. And the person who took us around said, wild dogs are different to lions. Lions would often kill you, or they would suffocate their kill before they eat it. He said, wild dogs, they just eat you.
Mm-mm.
They don't even wait for you dead. They just eat you. And then obviously you'll die because your body goes into shock. But it was sad. The lion, I love them.
What did the missus think about your artwork? So Daniel bought a massive
Oh,
picture
she loved it.
of a lion.
I'm a lion. No surprises.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I think all this lion portrait and lion tattoos is all hype, man.
That's your own opinion, man.
Yeah.
No, she liked the art. But yeah,
On that note, P, you know, if you were an animal, which animal would you be?
hamster.
He looks like a hamster already.
Oh, before we get onto that,
That laugh. Come out right.
I forgot to say, Olu had an admirer in the village.
I'll probably have to say a grizzly bear.
Olu, you had an admirer in the village.
What are you talking about?
I like no, actually the two animals. No, yeah,
The old woman.
Huh?
grizzly.
The old woman.
Be specific. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about bears. You man are talking about admirers. Yo, what-
No, I'm saying Olu had an admirer in the village that we were in. The community came, and there was like she was like she's probably like a grandma. She's quite old,
grandma.
and she had a liken to Olu.
Don't listen.
Olu, am I lying?
She saw that chest.
You saw that chest.
Yeah. What's that fee? Another question, silly question. Is that house that you got? How long is that house expected to last?
Well, put it this way: houses that I can't answer honestly, but I know from previous houses that have been built by Habitat, people often go back to see, years later the house they built. Some people revisit and do another build in the same area, and then they go back to the family that they built for. We were fortunate enough to see a house that had been built by a previous team, and the grandma was basically saying, we saw the house that they live in now compared to the old house, and we didn't even understand what she was saying before it was translated, but you could just tell her, she said, now I have a peaceful sleep. I am happy. It has changed my life.
That was touching as well. That was really touching moment as well.
And she told all of us to come into the house and see it. She invited all of us in. Yeah.
Guys, it sounds like it was an amazing trip. So thanks a lot for sharing. Because I think otherwise
we're planning to do it next year, right? You guys.
I'm planning to do.
I'm
planning. I was even looking today. I was thinking of doing one during my actual birthday next year as I turn 30, and the only one currently at the moment is in Argentina.
Ooh, that one I'm down. I'm there.
Are you there to build, or you?
It's not holiday, It's not holiday.
It's all about the giving, man. I'm not even thinking about the holiday.
I was looking online as well. I saw some opportunities in Miami.
There's one in Hawaii. Yeah, it's Trinidad and Tobago. There's Hawaii. There's Dominican Republic. Yeah.
We're going home. Yeah, we're going home.
Make sure I think if you're involved, P, this isn't even double strap. This is triple strap territory, my brother, with an asthma inhaler as well.
Yeah, so it's no easy work.
Yeah, but guys, thank you. But guys, thank you so much for sharing. It sounds like it was a very touching, life-changing trip and everything. And I don't know if you have any final words that you'd like to share to the listeners, apart from, I guess, a big thanks for everyone's donations.
No, I'd like to say thank you all for those who donated. It made the trip possible, feasible, and I know that the Habitat for Humanity staff will all be appreciative. And also I want to shout out all the team members that came on this trip with us. And I'll do it all by name as well. Firstly, my roommate, Olu. Paul, Maddie, Jake, Julie, Velda, Fran, Jill, Alan, Bea, and Nancy. Thank you all. Yeah, I did.
So yeah, just following off from what Daniel said, thanks for everyone that donated. If anyone wants to get more information from Daniel or I, feel free to just DM us, or if you know us, just give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to share more detail on the process of how you apply if you're considering attending for the next year build.
And one thing that I'll measure my success on is every single time I like to take someone on it with me.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
So last year I went alone. This year I came with Olu, and I'd like to bring someone else with me next year. So yeah. But thank you all for listening to episode 30 of Take Flight Podcast. We hope you enjoyed something different in terms of content. No book review this week, and I'm sure you probably all enjoyed our content. And we will look forward to hearing your feedback on this, and hopefully we get some of you who are interested, and feel free to contact us. If you have any feedback or any topics you'd like us to discuss, please feel free to DM us on Instagram at Take Flight Podcast, or email us at takeflightpodcast@gmail.com. Stay blessed. Peace.
Peace.
Take off, take flight with you. Yeah, for we never